Since its debut on October 10, 2012, the long-running series Chicago Fire has been a non-stop hit and takes us inside the lives of firefighters and paramedics in the city of Chicago, both on a personal and professional level. Fans and critics alike have described the show as addictive, so stay tuned and don't go away because we're revealing Chicago Fire Season 11 predictions in 2023. Plus, will there even be a Season 12? First up, is Stella Kidd leaving in 2023? Let's take a look. As we were heading into 2023, the biggest conversation on the internet surrounding Chicago Fire was whether or not Miranda Ray Mayo's character Stella Kidd would be leaving the show. Stella Kidd was involved in a brutal, devastating explosion during the mid-season finale. Thankfully, the winter premiere confirmed that Kidd was alive and well, despite a chunk of shrapnel in her side. Kidd had to undergo surgery but was able to return to work within a few weeks. Kidd's body might have bounced back, but her mind is scarred with PTSD. She even confides in Jake Lockett's Carver that she can't stop thinking about what happened. Now, many fans are asking, is the character thinking about hanging up her gear at the 51? Kidd's potential exit wouldn't surprise fans of the show because she's been around for several seasons. Mayo is routinely working on other roles outside of the show, and she'll be starring in the upcoming comedy Daddy. Stella Kidd is one of Chicago Fire's anchors, much like her husband Taylor Kinney's Severide. My prediction is that Kidd isn't going anywhere anytime soon, and if the show really wanted to get rid of Kidd, they wouldn't have hinged an entire mid-season cliffhanger on her nearly dying and recovering. It wouldn't make sense to stage an event like that right before a character decides to leave. It's writing 101 essentially. Next up, how did Sam Carver get his scar on Chicago Fire? You're about to find out. Actor Jake Lockett's Sam Carver has been winning audiences over despite initially giving off arrogant vibes and seeming like he'd be a bad fit for the Chicago Fire crew. From the start, Carver was constantly butting heads, but he's proven to be a worthwhile fighter. Carver survived the massive explosion in the episode titled Something for the Pain and was in the house with Stella when it all went down. Audiences first saw Carver's scar in the first episode of Season 11. Carver's asked about it in episode 2, and Stella calls him out for lying about how he got it. But when Stella recovers from the house explosion, she finds that Carver was behaving strangely around her. When she tells Carver that her scar is a constant reminder of the explosion, Carver replies, "Scars are good for that." Carver ultimately confesses that he got his scar from a 4th of July party he attended as a kid, where his older brother snuck up behind him and pushed him into a bonfire. Carver tells Kidd that he dragged himself out of the flames and will never forget the hell of that pain. Carver further explains that his older brother told everyone that Carver had fallen into the bonfire accidentally and that he saved him. Carver tells Kidd, "No one believed my version, what actually happened, because that's too insane. Why would a 15-year-old kid do that to his own little brother, right? I must be lying." Up next, will Chicago Fire be renewed for Season 12? Let's find out. As of January 6, 2023, Chicago Fire had not been cancelled or renewed for a 12th season. However, based on the show's previous schedule, a potential release date for the premiere of Season 12 could be May 17, 2023. Chicago Fire Season 12 had not been ordered at NBC, and the last time NBC announced a renewal of the show, it covered seasons 9, 10, and 11 at the network. So when Season 11 of Chicago Fire wraps this spring, that will be the end of the current contract. I realize this might be disconcerting for all you Chicago fans Fire out there, but it seems likely that NBC will renew the series because the ratings have been too good to ignore. A series such as Chicago Fire can be very expensive to shoot because of the many action sequences involved. Nevertheless, it's believed that Chicago Fire will continue to be a profitable endeavor for NBC. The show routinely draws more viewers than its competitors on other networks, and we predict that Season 12 will be ordered by NBC and an official announcement made sooner rather than later. The Chicago Fire fall finale ended with a bang, literally, culminating in a huge explosion and a cliffhanger. 4 characters were at risk of dying. Stella Kidd, Sam Carver, Detective Prima, and one of the bomb techs were all in the house when the grenade went off. Kelly Severide was restrained while trying to head inside the home to join his wife. Stay tuned and don't go away because we're revealing everything we know about Chicago Fire, primetime network television's hottest show. Next up, will Sam Carver die in Chicago Fire Season 11? Let's have a look. Jane Lockett says Sam Carver has clearly struggled to fit in with the crew of Firehouse 51. Carver's been confrontational from the start and routinely rubs people the wrong way. In the fall finale, Carver accompanied Kidd to disarm the bomb in the house, but after they removed the bomb from the victim's leg, it went off. Within seconds, since the house caved in on the firefighters. Carver isn't a core member of the 51, and while he's improved his relationship with Kid, he's still a question mark for the rest of the squad, and they remain unconvinced. Oftentimes, TV writers will want to test out characters with a smaller arc in order to see if the audience connects with them. If they don't, the character is written out. But if the opposite happens and the audience connects with the character, writers will make sure they stick around. In other words, it's still very much possible that Carver will be killed off. Some fans feel it would be powerful and shocking if Carver dies as a result of the explosion, but others feel it could be a wasted opportunity. It's no secret that Chicago Fire has had to say goodbye to a few essential characters over the years, and keeping things fresh is perfectly understandable. Carver could very well become a fan favorite, so my guess is writers will roll the dice on his future and let him make it out of season 11 alive. But right now, I want to know what all of you Chicago Fire fans are thinking. Should Sam Carver be written out of the show, or should we have a future at 51? We'd love to know your thoughts, or drop some comments down below. Up next, will Jesse Spencer's Matt Casey return to Chicago Fire in 2023? We're about to find out. Chicago Fire showrunner Derek Haas hasn't divulged any details regarding Casey's return, but he's definitely open to the idea. During a recent interview, Haas was asked about the chances of seeing Casey again, to which he replied, "Can you call Jesse Spencer for us and just tell him that you said that so that we can make that happen? That sounds great to me." As you can see, Haas was enthusiastic about the prospect of Casey's return, and it's also clear based on Spencer's Instagram photos that he's remained close with the Chicago Fire team since his departure. We've also heard a number of voicemail cameos from Casey, and when you add up all of these little hints, you start to feel confident that Casey will return to Chicago Fire at some point. But the situation with Cara Kilmer's character Brett makes it seem unlikely that Casey's return will happen in season 11. Writers spent a lot of time on Brett getting over Casey and trying to date again, so bringing Casey back into the fold right now would undo much of that progress, and that wouldn't make sense. It makes much more sense for audiences to see Brett's dating arc conclude before writers bring back Casey, who some say is everyone's favorite ex-firefighter. Next up, are you ready for a quick recap of Chicago Fire's season 11? Grab your popcorn. Episode 1, Hold On Tight, was directed by Reza Tabrizi and written by Andrea Newman and Michael Gilvery. According to the official synopsis, Kid and Severide's honeymoon is interrupted by a dangerous person from their past. Kid's former academy classmate joins Firehouse 51. Brett and Violet reflect on their relationships. Episode 2, Every Scar Tells a Story, was directed by Brenna Malloy and written by Matt Whitney. The synopsis states, Jaffe spends a couple of shifts at Firehouse 51. Kid and Carver work together to help Carver's former boss. As Hawkins and Violet's relationship blossoms, Gallo turns his attention elsewhere. Episode 3, Completely Shattered, was directed by Matt Earl Beasley and written by Derek Haas. In this episode, Kid recruits Carver, Cap, and Tony to help prepare her new lieutenant's quarters. Severide and Detective Prima reluctantly pairs up to work on a police investigation. Firehouse 51 comes together to fight a movie theater fire. Episode 4, The Center of the Universe, was directed by Stephen Craig and written by Andrea Newman and Michael Gilvery. Here, we see Kid get a glimpse into Carver's chaotic personal life, and Mooch and Herman receive an unexpected gift. Episode 5, Haunted House, was directed by Reza Tabrizi and written by Victor Terran. In this episode, Firehouse 51 hosts a Halloween open house, while Kid and Severide help a young girl after she gets kicked out of her home. Finally, what happened in episodes 6 through 9? Episode 6, All Out Mystery, was directed by Brenna Malloy and written by Andrea Newman and Michael Gilvery. Severide and Kid investigate an explosion at a jewelry store, and Cruz and Chloe takes steps to make Javi a permanent part of their family, while Gallo, Ritter, and Mooch try to bond with Carver. Episode 7, Angry is Easier, was directed by Cantu Lentz and written by Elizabeth Sherman. In this episode, Herman is tasked with fulfilling a man's dying wish, as Kid reflects on her Girls on Fire program after one of her students graduates from the Fire Academy. Also, an unruly heckler harasses Firehouse 51. Episode 8, A Beautiful Life, was directed by Lisa Robinson and written by Ashley Cooper, along with a teleplay written by Andrea Newman and Michael Gilvery. Detective Prima asks for Severide's help on a case involving explosives as Gallo and Carver clash after Gallo improvises on a call. Violet encourages Brett to start dating again. In episode 9, Nemesis, Severide struggles with the cost of helping Detective Prima with the Martucci case, and Gallo campaigns for Herman to represent 51 at the National Firefighters Association's Winter Conference. Also, a familiar face makes a shocking return. That's a wrap for today's video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.